Council meeting for Monday, November 23rd, 2020 to order. Madam Clerk, on the minutes.
Thank you, Your Worship. If there can be a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting held on November 9th, 2020, and adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting for public hearings held on November 16th.
So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussions, errors, or omissions? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Any agenda additions or deletions?
Thank you, Your Worship. We have one agenda correction. It's on CNCL page 6. This is for item 16. It's the report regarding the Energy Step Code requirements. And the relevant amendment bylaw 10205 can actually be given 3 readings this evening. And as a result, recommendation 1 ought to be corrected to indicate that first, second, and third readings be given.
All right, may I have a motion on the agenda with that change?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? All those in favor, opposed, carried. That brings me to the appointments to various positions of the councillors, which I do once a year. I mostly make recommendations. I just want to note that we will be doing this again in the spring because I anticipate that we're going to have a new counselor. Just a minute, I need to start my video. There you are. So I expect we'll have a new counselor. Now, for members of the public, anybody who's looking at this and wants a copy of all the appointments and whatever, they will be published in the morning, tomorrow morning. Generally, we would have the lists right here for you to take, but with COVID, we'll do it this other way. So, first of all, we have the appointment of council members to external organizations. I have one such appointment, and that would be to the Steveston Harbor Authority. The appointee I'm recommending is Councillor Steves, and the alternate is Councillor Day. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. Then we have the appointments to the standing committees and the composition. That is something that the mayor does in his or her sole discretion. And so we're leaving the committees the same way they are now. I should note that planning committee is going to be starting up in December. We'll be having a meeting in early December, and all the committees we're hoping will be back to probably a virtual performance, but back to meeting come January. So the Community Safety Committee is chaired by Councillor McNulty, Vice Chair is Councillor Day, and joined by Councillor Liu, Steves, and Wolf. Finance Committee and General Purposes Committee, they are consisting of all members of council chaired by the mayor. Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services Committee, chaired by Councillor Steves, vice chaired by Councillor Wolf, joined by Councillors Au, McNulty, and McPhail. Planning Committee, Councillor Linda McPhail will chair that. Vice chair will be Councillor Liu, joined by Councillor Day, McNulty, and Steves. And for Public Works and Transportation Committee, we will be asking Councillor Au to chair that committee, vice chair by Councillor Liu, joined by Councillors McPhail and Wolf. Now, Councillor Day, I see your hand up. Is that on something to this point?
I just wanted to make a comment. I feel that we could do a better job of selecting these standing committees, and it could be more democratic if all of council were basically involved. The problem that I have is that this process is not democratic, and year after year after year, we see the same people in the same positions. I think that if we had the ability for a transparent and democratic process, all the councillors would have an equal opportunity to serve on the committees of their choice. And I also feel that the experience of chairing a committee would be very good for succession training for all councillors. So if I could vote against this, I would, but I know I cannot because the mayor has a sole discretion.
Thank you for that, Councillor Day, because that gives me an opportunity to talk about the process that we have. The process is this. before these appointments, all of them are made, I sit down and I meet individually with each counselor, and I'll talk to other people who may be involved as well. So I can say that there are very few, frankly, if any, appointments to the standing committees that weren't requested. And so I'm sorry to disagree with your comments, but I think that they are not warranted because I do speak to all the counselors before the standing committees are appointed. So the next item is the appointment of members of council and their alternates as the liaison to city advisory committees and their organizations. So the following recommendations are being made. For the Advisory Committee on the Environment, it's Councillor Wolf. Child Care Development Advisory Committee, Councillor Day. Council School Board Liaison Committee, Councillor Au and Councillor Liu. Economic Advisory Committee, Councillor Au and Councillor Liu. Heritage Commission, Councillor Wolf. Major Facility Building Project Technical Advisory Committee, Councillor Steves is the chair, joined by Councillor Wolf. The Minu Center for Active Living Program Committee, chaired by Councillor Au. The Richmond Center for Disability is Councillor Liu. The Richmond Chamber of Commerce, Councillor Liu. Richmond Community Services Advisory Committee, the RCSAC, Councillor McNulty. For the Richmond Food Security and Agricultural Advisory Committee is Councillor Steves. The Richmond Intercultural Advisory Committee, Councillor McPhail. Richmond Public Art Advisory Committee, Councillor Steves. Richmond Sister City Advisory Committee, Councillor McPhail. Richmond Sports Councillor, Councillor McNulty. The Sports Wall of Fame Nominating Committee, Councillor Steves. Seniors Advisory Committee, Councillor Day. The Stevenson Historic Sites Building Committee is Councillor McNulty and Councillor Steves. And finally, the Vancouver Coastal Health Richmond Health Services Local Governance Liaison Group is Councillor Au. May I have a motion accordingly?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? Councillor Day, is that your hand from the previous matter, or is that another hand?
Thank you, everybody. I request that I be selected for which is the Richmond Chamber of Commerce. I'm the only councillor with 40 years of experience owning and operating my own business, and I think that I could be a real asset to the council as a representative on the Richmond Chamber of Commerce. And alternatively, I am been put on B, which is a Child Care Development Advisory Committee. And while I very much respect that committee, I haven't used childcare for over 36 years, so I don't think my experience would be as valuable. So I request that those two be changed, please.
Is there so that you're moving that as an amendment?
Yes, please.
Those two items. Is there a seconder? There's a seconder. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? It is defeated with Councillor Au. Are you in favor or opposed? Okay. Councillor Steves, Councillor McPhail, Councillor Liu, McNulty, and the mayor opposed. I'll call the question on the motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Yes, that is carried. Then we have the appointment of members of council as liaison to community associations. Richmond Arenas would be Councillor Wolf. The City Center Community Association is Councillor Steves. East Richmond Community Association is Councillor Day. Hamilton Community Association is Councillor Wolf. The Art Gallery Association, Councillor Day. The Fitness and Wellness Association is Councillor Day. Sea Island Community Association is Councillor Steves. South Arm Community Association, Councillor McNulty. Thompson Community Association, Councillor Au. And West Richmond Community Association, Councillor McPhail. May I have a motion accordingly?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Appointment of members of council as a liaison to various boards. Aquatic Services Board is Councillor Liu. Museum Society is Councillor Wolf. Richmond Gateway Theatre Society Board is Councillor Au. And the Richmond Public Library Board is Councillor McPhail with Councillor McNulty as the alternate. May I have a motion accordingly?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. That brings me to the members of council as liaison to various societies. The Britannia Heritage Shipyard Society is Councillor Steves. Gulf of Georgia Cannery Society is Councillor Au. London Heritage Farm Society is Councillor Day. Mineral Senior Society is Councillor McNulty. The Nature Park Society is Councillor Wolf. Stevenson Community Society is Councillor Liu, and the Stevenson Historical Society is Councillor McNulty. May I have a motion accordingly?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. Then we have the appointment of the Parcel Tax Roll Review Panel for Local Area Services. And the recommendation is that the members of the Public Works and Transportation Committee be appointed as the Parcel Tax Roll Review Panel for Local Area Services until November 8th of 2021, and I would so move.
So moved.
Okay, moved and
Second.
seconded. Discussion on that? All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? That is carried. Now, we have the appointments as acting mayors. Now, it's a little bit odd because we're dealing with 11 months till November 8th of 2021, and also we're doing it with 7 councillors. So the timing is a little imprecise. But until January 31st, 2021, Councillor Wolf. February 1st to March 15th is Councillor McNulty. March 16th to April 30th is Councillor McPhail. May 1st to June 15th is Councillor Day. June 16th to July 31st is Councillor Au. August 1st to September 15th is Councillor Steves. And from September 16th to November 8th is Councillor Liu, and I would so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
That is carried. Now, we would normally go into committee of the whole to hear delegations on items on the agenda, but there's nobody in the council chambers and nobody has indicated that they want to come in remotely, so I won't ask to go into that. It brings us to our consent agenda, and the highlights are fairly short. The receipt of committee minutes, the award of the contract for the supply and delivery of computer equipment and related services, the Energy Step Code requirements for Part 9 residential and Part 3 hotel buildings. We have a land use application for first reading, which goes to public hearing on December 14th. 8320, 4060, and 8440 Bridgeport Road, and 8311 and 51 Sea Island Way, to rescind third reading of the amendment bylaws 9628 and 9629, and to update rezoning considerations to amend the proposed ZC 39 zone. And finally, we have the 2021 council and committee meeting schedule. So may I have a motion to adopt those by general consent? So that's moved and seconded. Anyone wanting to speak to any of the items on the consent agenda? All right, I'm not seeing anybody. I'll call the question then on the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That is carried. So there's a few things that have been removed from the consent agenda. First of all, we have the Finance Committee, and we have the utility budget and rates. And the recommendation coming from Finance Committee is that the 2021 utility budget is presented in option 2 for water, option 2 for sewer, option 1 for drainage and diking, and option 3 for solid waste and recycling as outlined in the staff report dated November 6, 2020 from the relevant general managers, be approved as the basis for establishing the 2021 utility rates and included in the consolidated 5-year financial plan 2021 to 2025 bylaw, and I would so move.
Second.
So that's moved and seconded. Just by way of background, the utility budgets are largely the result of Metro Vancouver and all its various services that it provides for us. But very briefly, we can get into more detail if it's required, but for water, the idea is option 2 would, to stabilize the rates, it would draw down $700,000 to stabilize the rate somewhat. For sewer, option 2, which is on the floor, that reduces the draw by $600,000. The drainage and diking, leaving it as option 1, brings us to the same impact. So there's a 0 rate increase impact from last year. And the solid waste, there has been, under the option, there have been some cost increases, but no drawdown from the provisional account. So, Councillor Wolf. Yeah, you're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I just have, I think, 2 questions, short ones for staff, and then just a comment on my position on this item. Oh, and also just for clarification, will it be voted all together?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Then question to staff. I'm trying to compare the 2 places in the package that refer to the flood protection. So on page 282, that's the main report, and there's a table 9 there that goes through what's called the flood protection rate options, and it has the prices, the costs for each of the types. And then if I look to the back of the report on page 379, it has the flood protection system fees. So my first question is, what's the difference between flood protection rate options and flood protection system fees? Because the dollar value is just like $20, $30 part. So.
Through your worship to Councillor Wolf, I believe that may be the difference between the net rate and the gross rate, which is accounting for the 10% discount on the utility bills if paid on time.
Okay, thank you for that. My follow-up question through the mayor to staff then. Back on page 283, so for the 3 options, and option 1 was recommended, and that's the one that was supported at general purposes. But under options 2 and 3, the bullet points there, could you clarify basically the first line there for both option 2 and 3 would give us improved equity based on different levels of demand various properties have on the city's drainage and diking systems. So what is the benefit to the city to have option 2 or 3? What does that line mean that I read out there? It's the same for both.
Through your worship to Councillor Wolf, essentially what we're saying there is it would more reflect each property class's demand on the drainage and diking system. So typically industrial properties put a greater demand on the system than, say, a single-family or multifamily property.
All right, terrific. Thank you. That's all my questions. If I could just speak a little bit to the item now. So I was opposed in general purposes, not to the whole package here, but simply that we're going ahead with option 1 and not option 2 in this regard. So clearly there, staff has said that there is benefit to going with option 2 or 3 that we're not going to get if we're going ahead with option 1. Secondly, the last part on that description there saying, last line on page 283 talks about there being without any negative impact to the city in immediate or long term. So I appreciate that, and I heard that as the general purposes. But I'm going to continue to push for the option 2. From just in the past 2 years, either down the road or other areas that I know box culvert work has occurred. I do know property in the area that have been flooded, and I'm not saying it was a problem with the staff, but I feel that if we let things fail, go as long as we have, then perhaps that's leading to some of these extra insurance claims that then have to be covered. So I think having the push to improve the system, the box culvert preventative maintenance program, keep that up and go ahead of schedule, will impact the residents less and have less fees, legal fees and such. I also know that this is tied to a 500-year flood event, but with the uncertainty of the coming climate change effects and some of the extreme weather events that we're seeing and patterns that have never been experienced before, I feel that it is on us to take the initiative to shorten that span and be expecting the 300 or the 200-year floods sooner than the 500. Also, some of the work we've been doing recently where it's an emergency dike repair, we've taken down trees. And part of the backlash we've received from the community is that, well, we've just removed all these trees, there's habitat there, eagles use them, nesting sites, and we remove them without any habitat compensation. Whereas if we had an improved plan, we would have the habitat compensation plan at least in the works, as opposed to something we're going to work on next year. We should be having these habitat compensation plans much further along than we've been doing. And then final point, I think we have an opportunity here to do what's needed to avoid deferring costs to future generations. I know the staff have said that the immediate and long term, we can always catch up and make the future pay more then. But I think it's on all of us now to do the hard task of keeping the drainage and diking system to the best of our ability. And I think option 2 or even 3 have a better chance for that. So with that, I'll be opposing it, and that's why. Thanks.
Councillor McPhail.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will support the recommendation on the floor, and I want to thank staff for the considerable work that was put into this. And, you know, there was a lot of measures that were taken to reduce costs where possible and to minimize rate increases, and I think this is in recognition of the global pandemic and what we've been hearing from our community about some of the financial situations. Questions to you, Your Worship, to staff. What is the impact of this to the average household? So what would the rate increase be for the average household?
Through Your Worship to Councillor McPhail, the total rate impact would be in the order of 1 to 2%.
Like, what's that in a dollar figure? Like, is that $30 or $40 or?
It would be approximately $20 or so.
Over last year?
That's correct. For single families, it's $28.65.
All right, thank you. Many of us attended the Council of Councils on October the 24th, where we had an overview from Metro Vancouver of each of the services, and we got to see the Regional District Financial Plan. And I know Metro Vancouver Board on October the 30th endorsed their 2021 annual operating budget, and they also did a lot of cost cutting, and perhaps Mayor Brody could speak to that, or Councillor Steeves. But so the average household will pay an additional $17 for all of Metro Vancouver services for an annual total of $577. So as this report speaks to, a lot of the costs are out of the city's control. So I think that we've done a good job on controlling what we can control and still provide these vital services to our community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. I think you'll find it summarized on Council page 291, which is page 25 of the report. So it goes through them, and I think that kind of summarizes the increase to the utility rates. So with that, I'm going to call the question on the motion. All those in favor? Those opposed? It's carried with Councillor Wolf opposed. As a related item, we need to pass the bylaws, and they are set out on the agenda pages as 19A for water works and water rates for drainage dike and sanitary sewer system and solid waste and recycling regulation. So as set out there, may I have a motion?
First, second, and third.
Okay, second, any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. That brings us to the district energy utility rates. Finance Committee recommends that the Alexandra District Energy Utility Bylaw be introduced, give first, second, and third readings. Same for the Oval Village District Energy Utility Bylaw and the City Center District Energy Utility Bylaw. All of them introduced, give first, second, third reading. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. Very summarily, these are the city-related district energy utility rates, and the increase for two of them, the Oval Village and the City Center, is going to be 2.5% for Alexandra because there's more infrastructure that we have now. The rate increases to 0%. What it comes down to is that when you factor in like for like with all the various costs, the guarantee that we have given to the users is that the rates will be competitive with conventional type of energy that is provided, which is based on fossil fuels. So that's why we're going away from it. So I'll certainly be supporting what we have in front of us. Councillor Day.
Right again? No, I'm not supposed to use that, sorry. Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. On page CNCL 299 is the list of the increases. And when I saw this at committee level, I was concerned about these rate increases. But staff sent an excellent report that compared our rates with Fortis and Hydro. And I would request that the clerk add that memo to this, to the minutes of this meeting, because I think it's important for the public to see that report, because it really, it alleviated any fears that I had, so.
Fair enough. Anyone else? Okay. Oops. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. That brings us to the bylaw for third reading of the housing agreement bylaw. And the recommendation is third reading of the housing agreement 5591, 5631, 51, and 71 number 3 road be rescinded, and that the housing agreement for those same properties, bylaw 10057, be given third reading as amended, and I would so move.
Second.
So that's moved and seconded. This is simply a housekeeping matter. There was some incorrect information and numbers that was incorporated into previous documents, and we're just clearing that up. So we'll call the question then on the motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. And number 22, Councillor Howe's motion on mandatory masks in indoor public spaces has been withdrawn from the.
You've already got it.
Yeah. Oval what? Oh, didn't I? Oh, hang on a sec. Just want. It's just been brought to my attention that there was one appointment that I missed. I just double checking it. Ecom has already been designated as Councillor McNulty. Is as our representative on the Richmond Olympic Oval Corporation, and I'm recommending Councillor Liu. May I have a seconder?
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Sorry about that oversight. So that, I'll get back to my stuff. So that brings us to the public announcements. And tonight, we've got quite a few tonight, but there's a very special one that we want to announce. And there was a very special anniversary that took place in the city this past week. Councillor Steves, you want to pay attention to this? I think he's trying to avoid us. 50 years ago, the residents of Richmond elected this young school teacher named Harold Steves to council for the very first time. And it was to be the start of a long and illustrious career serving not only the people of Richmond, but all of the people of British Columbia. He was elected as an alderman, as they called it then. I think they changed that in the 80s or something. He was elected in 1968. He left briefly to serve as a member of the Legislative Assembly, during which time he was instrumental in a number of initiatives. The most prominent, and that has been long-lasting, is, of course, the Agricultural Land Reserve, but I emphasize that there was a whole number of initiatives that Councillor Steves was part of. He returned to the Richmond City Council in 1977, and he's been actively involved in helping to shape our community ever since. So on behalf of City Council and the residents of Richmond, we want to extend our warmest wishes and our congratulations to Councillor Steves on his 50th year of civic service. And of course, we wish him all the best for his many years of continued service, which are yet to come. So congratulations to Councillor Steves. Yeah.
Very much.
Okay, my pleasure. Do you have a few words of advice for us to carry on, Councillor Steves? I sprung this on him, I should tell you. I did not give him any warning of this. But go ahead if you would like to say a word.
Well, thank you very much. I guess I've had a whole bunch of people asking me, how did you manage to last 50 years? And I think it's don't expect everything to happen instantly. Some things take a long time. And in fact, today on Twitter, I said I'm hoping, and we're working on this right now, that after 50 years, that we'll finally open up the Terra Nova Slough to spawning salmon. We started that discussion in 1968 when the dikes closed the dike canals off, and some of the salmon were spawning at the Terra Nova area and the dike canal here in my area. And we opened up one of the sloughs, and when we saved Terra Nova and developed it, we developed the slough to be opened up to the river, but we never opened it up. So as I've been telling people, well, maybe it just sometimes it takes 50 years. So that's why I'm still here. Take care. Thanks very much.
Well, and of course, I know one of the early initiatives that you were involved in was at Iona, and how they put in the plant and the various issues that were involved. And of course, now Metro Vancouver is going from primary to secondary to tertiary, and there's just going to be a whole host of issues that we're going to have to deal with from the local level and the provincial level. So we'll draw on your long experience for that one as just one example, for sure.
I'll give you a further comment on that one. I'm delighted to be a member of the Vancouver board now when we are finally planning to rebuild the Iona plant. When I got elected in 1968, I was a candidate along with Archie Blair for the Richmond Anti-Pollution Association. And our number one issue was sewage treatment. We wanted a sewer plant in Richmond, which is a little one plant that we got it. But we also wanted a sewer plant and we didn't get it. And the mayor of the day, Henry Henderson, made me chair of the health committee in 1969. So the first thing we did was some pollution from the river where the water flows around into Kitsilano and English Bay. And it was 10 times the rate that was permitted. So, wow, we got to keep it to sewer plant. And I made a delegation to the provincial government and saying, yeah, you got to build a sewer plant. They just increased the amount of coliforms about 10 times that you can have. And that's when it isn't to this day. But Metro Vancouver is trying to work. So it's a long thing, but that was one of the issues we were fighting way back in 1968.
Thanks, Harold. You were breaking up there for a while, but I think we got the real gist of what you were just saying. The next item that I want to have under the heading of announcements is the public announcements of the various appointments, some of the appointments we have made, and this comes from our closed meeting this afternoon. All these appointments are until December 31st, 2022, with one exception. I'll get to that. So on the Economic Advisory Committee, Greg Allen and Melanie Roop. Also, Nigel Evans, Howard Jampolsky, and Paul Tilbury. And Paul Tilbury has been reappointed as the chair until the end of 2021. For the Sister City Advisory Committee, Karen Shigeno and Nicholas Sturdivant, they've been appointed, as have Glenn Kishi, Lisa McNeil, and Polly Tang. Gateway Theatre Society Board, Veronica Armstrong and Jonathan Wong, as well as Clayton Rubenstein, and that goes until, as I say, the end of 2022. And then we have the Public Art Advisory Committee, Jose Loreno and Jerome Teo. They've been appointed, as have Ming Hui, Yu, and Rebecca Lin. So congratulations and thanks to all those nominees and all the other people who put in their names, and I'm sure we'll find places for all of you in due course. Then we've got a number of other types of announcements. The Canadian Red Cross Agreement signed an agreement with the city, and they're to be our partner in the delivery of the emergency support service, and they will assist Richmond residents displaced due to fire, flood, earthquake, or other crises. So that is effective February 1st, 2021, and volunteers are needed to support the work. So if you're interested in a volunteering opportunity, go to redcross.ca/volunteer. Then there's been some new public health orders, and that's really shaken things up as ever because of COVID-19, and we're all trying to stay safe with the challenges that are in front of us. Recent province-wide public health orders and directions are in place and enforced across the city. These include a ban on social interaction with anyone not in your immediate household or core bubble. That includes meeting others at restaurants. Masks are now required for all indoor public settings and retail stores, as well as shared areas and workplaces and areas where physical distancing cannot be maintained. The suspension of high-risk physical activities such as spin classes, high-intensity interval training, and hot yoga are all banned as well as is non-essential travel. So these public health orders remain in effect till December 7th, so go on the website if you want to know more about how they impact our city programs. Then a number of the councillors joined me as we opened the renovated recycling depot. We have one of the most comprehensive recycling programs in all of the Lower Mainland. So to improve the customer experience, we made a number of improvements. Traffic flow upgrades and changes make it easier for people to identify where to recycle their items more simply and quickly. So again, go on the website for an interactive map that shows what items are accepted and where to drop them off in the upgraded yard. And I'll just say a word of thanks to the staff who are heavily involved in that the renovations, and they did a very, very nice job. And by the way, it's a reminder that the recycling depot will be open 7 days a week starting January 1st or after the holidays, but in any case, at the beginning of this coming year. The Richmond Nature Park is now open. It was closed due to COVID-19, but it's once again open to educate and entertain about our local environment. It's open 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock every day. In the house, it offers a safe, fun, and free activities to educate about our bog environment and the wild animals that live among us. Visitors can also stroll the 5 kilometers of picturesque walking trails that are open daily from dusk to dawn to see the many plants and animals in their natural bog, forest, and pond habitats. Then we have Winter in the Village, which is in Steveston. As the Christmas season nears, there's a series of COVID-friendly programs and activities that are being prepared for launch. First of all, Steveston's Winter in the Village starts December 1st and runs right through the month with decorations and festivities to mark the holiday season. Residents can get outside with free self-guided tours of the village lights or explore the forest of festive trees decorated by local merchants and organizations at the Gulf of Georgia Cannery National Historic Site. Again, go online if you want more details of that. Then we have Songs in the Snow. The 4th annual Songs in the Snow is going virtual this year, starting Saturday, December 5th from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the evening. People can watch some of Richmond's favorite musicians perform holiday favorites via Zoom that day, as well as on Saturday, December 12th and 19th. New this year, residents can pre-order and pick up free craft kits and hot drink packages ahead of the show. Registration is free or by donation, and a Zoom link will be emailed to all registered participants before the event. So again, go on to the website to historicsteveston.ca if you are interested. All of these activities, I can tell you, are going to follow the strict safety protocols and will only be held in accordance with provincial public health orders and guidelines. So that's it for this moment. So, Councillor Rao.
Yes, Your Worship, I have 2 questions. Number 1, regarding the public health orders, we understand that when it was being announced last Thursday, there's no details. And we were told that there could be more details about the regulations afterwards. So, number 1, do we have received any further information about the new regulations?
Let's
and
ask.
Secondly, and I think people are very confused right now. There are many questions. So is there any place that we can direct people to ask questions regarding the interpretation or the implementation of those regulations?
Okay, let's ask Serena Lusk if you or someone from your department can help us out. Do we have more information on the specifics of what falls out of those regulations?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to you, to Councillor Au. Yes, we have received some further interpretation, particularly around fitness classes, and the recent announcement earlier this week, late last week, did clarify that only high-intensity fitness programs needed to be paused for now. So some group fitness classes of lower intensity, including yoga, have restarted. So we have received that clarification. And certainly the provincial government's website provides a fair bit of information, although of course it is quickly changing, and they are updating it with clarifications such as the ones that Dr. Henry and Minister Dix advised of today, clarifying seasonal events and other types of events which must be paused at least until December 7th.
And how about people who have questions?
Is there a site where people with questions can go, Serena?
I see. Through the Mayor to Councillor Au, the provincial, in terms of asking questions, there is a tool on the provincial government website where questions may be asked or can be asked virtually, and some clarifications can be provided. Beyond that, it's best to listen to the daily briefings and hear the clarifications directly as they come about, or read the materials on the website. And perhaps Clay Adams may have further information on the communication tools available from the government, provincial government.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Serena. Through the Mayor to Councillor Au, yes, the government does have a website with the public health orders on it. The link is actually available on our website. It is specifically done to update the orders, and the provincial government is updating that. We also provide regular updates and maintain current information on our own website as to how these orders pertain to programs, services, and facilities in the city.
Okay.
Your Worship, and I also want to ask you if you would be happy to talk about our meeting with the new MLAs last week. I think it's worth mentioning because it's never happened before.
Well, don't want to contradict you, but I mean, we have had meetings with our MLAs before.
Not in that kind of format.
But no, I was joined by a number of the city councillors, Councillor Al, Councillor Liu, Councillor Day, Councillor McNulty. I may have missed somebody, help me out if I have. So there was a number of us, and we met with our new MLAs. There was a number of things that we were able to discuss with them. I think we probably want to leave these specific conversations somewhat private. But it's fair to say that the MLAs are anxious to work on behalf of the city of Richmond, and we're enthusiastic about the job that they have in front of them and want to be responsive and follow it up with regular meetings. So it was a very good meeting with them. And soon we're going to have a meeting with a couple Delta MLAs about Richmond items. And also we're going to have a meeting with the MP, Kenny Chu, again, about Richmond items.
Thank you.
So, Madam Clerk, bylaw for adoption.
Thank you, Your Worship. There is one bylaw for final adoption, bylaw number 9573, and there's no noted opposition.
Moved.
All right. Councillor Day.
I wanted to ask staff, I was reading through this report, and there's a development going in beside an existing home, and there were a number of issues: falling down fences, cracked sidewalk. And in Rosa Liu's letter of March 12, 2019, she said that after meeting with the developer, they didn't solve all of our stated concerns, and then property damage is not from long-term settlement, and requested that the city bring in a professional engineer. I'm just wondering if that was settled.
Through your worship to Councillor Day, yes, it is our understanding that meetings between the developer and the adjacent resident continued. Prior to this application being brought forward to council, we did receive confirmation from the developer that the fence will be replaced and the other damage repaired.
Okay, so and you've spoken to Ms. Rosa Liu as well, and she's satisfied?
We have ensured that she has our contact information should there be any issue. We will continue to monitor it through the construction process should the development permit be approved tonight.
All right, thank you very much.
Councillor Wolf.
Yes, thank you. This was an item that was first, second, and third reading before I was on the council. I think everyone else was on council. So I found it quite interesting to read through it. I'm familiar with the area. And my question to staff, haven't seen this come up. On page, actually, no, I don't know if you got this page. So I got an extra copy because, I don't know. It says CNCL 237. Maybe I'll read it out because I don't think you'll have this page. It's not in the back of our binder. It was an additional. This is from June 15th, 2016. So there's two large English oak trees on the corners of the southeast corner and the northeast corner. So the one on the northeast corner is saved, but the one on the southeast corner was identified as being needing to be removed. And here's the line that I'm asking staff about. It says there was a recently submitted soils report, and it identified peat excavation within the tree protection zone, and that will be required. And because of that, the tree has to be removed. So my question is, I've never seen that come up. What was the peat excavation for? Was it simply the building footprint and foundation was cutting into this section, so the peat had to be removed, or was it the fence? Because this tree was magnificent and right into the corner of the property, and I don't know if it has anything to do with what Councillor Day was just referring to as damage or issues between neighbors, because this tree would have probably been a welcome blessing to the existing neighborhood with all the operations going on, and then the new building there fully exposed, because the replacement trees were allowed to be put on the street, but no replacement tree back in that spot. So question to staff is that what's the deal with the peat excavation being required and being the cause for the loss of the significant tree?
Through your worship to Councillor Wolf, unfortunately I don't have the information readily available to me in terms of what the cause of the peat extraction was. All I can go off is what was in the report, which is, as you described, that the tree is not recommended for retention as a result of the soil conditions and the location of the tree.
Thank you for that. And just a real short follow-up. I've looked on the page also in this package, which you probably don't have, to refer to replacement trees, and the list of trees are all scraggly little trees that are not going to grow large and significant like these English oak trees do. So I find it quite unfortunate that that wasn't brought to light, maybe, or options weren't sought after when things could have been done 4 years ago. So, thank
All
you.
right. All right, we'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, all those opposed? It's carried with Councillor Wolf opposed. And the development permit panel, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. There are two recommendations. Recommendation 1, that the minutes of the Development Permit Panel meeting held on October 28th and the Chair's report for the DPP meetings held on March 13th, 2019 be received for information. And recommendation 2, that the recommendation of the panel to authorize the issuance of the development permit for the property at 9560, 9580, and 9584 Granville Avenue be endorsed and the permit so issued.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. Someone
Move
move
adjournment.
adjournment. Okay, we're now adjourned. Thanks, folks.